And blessed to be a part of your day, Treasure Valley. Thank you for joining us. Kevin Miller in the morning, KIDO Talk Radio. Now that Brett Kavanaugh is confirmed, is the crisis over for men, and particularly boys in the United States of America? Who would have ever thought that men would be second-class citizens in America? And what does Brett Kavanaugh's past mean for your son's future? Joining us now is Dr. Warren Farrell, the author of The Boy Crisis, Why Boys Are Struggling and What We Can Do About It. By the way, Dr. Farrell is currently the chair of the commission to create a White House Council on Boys and Men. Dr. Farrell, thank you for joining us. Good morning.
Good morning.
So, many would argue that boys and men have lived a charmed life. They've oppressed everybody else. Woo-hoo, who would cry for little boys or men?
Yes, that would be a lot of the argument, especially of feminists, and I say this as somebody who was on the board of directors of the National Organization for Women in New York City for 3 years, and there was a belief on the part of many feminists, including myself, I'd say at the beginning, that we had a world in which there were men who were the oppressors and women who were the oppressed, without realizing it that our fathers didn't make more money because they wanted to, per se, that men do not make more money than women do. Dads make more money than moms because they take on additional obligations when their children are born, and so they are not the oppressors. They fulfill responsibilities that allow their families to live in better neighborhoods, have better schools, have advantages that will benefit them. And so if you call an Uber, you're about 90% likely today to get a male driver, and he's not doing it because he has male privilege or male power. He's doing it so his son doesn't have to drive an Uber, or he's doing it and make enough money to be attractive to a woman to become a dad, to be able to have a son not drive an Uber. And so we took all the obligations and responsibilities that women had, and we said that was oppression. We took, as opposed to that was what, and we took the responsibilities and obligations that our dads had and called that being an oppressor, and that completely missed the fact that both our moms and our dads were doing exactly the same thing with different roles. The moms were playing the role of, giving up their careers to raise children, and dads were playing the role of obligations in their careers to give up being a teacher, which was their passion, becoming an administrator because it made more money, giving up coming home every night to be a salesman for a local area and selling insurance nationwide where they had to be away from home when they would have preferred to be with their children and with their wives. And so that's the complete miss that led to the fundamental misconception of us as feminists who didn't realize that men making more money was not about male privilege but male obligation fulfilled.
Well, Dr. Farrell, I mean, come on. This is I love your opening statement here on KIDO Talk Radio, but we've got the glass ceiling. Women don't make as much as men. They're harassed in the workplace. The men are just plain evil. Aren't we missing the boat? Don't we have to re-educate men? And we see it in popular culture where the dad isn't, as you described, all about his family and self-sacrifice. He's just a dope.
Yes, well, I mean, there are many men and many women who are, short of being perfect, and both sexes need education. Men need education as to how to integrate women, but the messages that the Kavanaugh and what we're doing with the HR, human resources in companies, which is really not HR, which would mean human resources. It's become HER. Focused on her needs and her rights, and I'm really open to hearing women's needs and rights. We must hear women's needs and rights. We must integrate them into the workplace in a fair way. But when we hear mixed messages like, I am woman, I am strong, 1 minute, and then the next minute we hear, I am woman, I've been wronged. Somebody said I had a nice dress on, and they are therefore oppressing me. And it's a set of confusing messages, and we're seeing that many men now who are middle-level managers, many things we haven't acknowledged in this men as the oppressor culture is that that studies of women who have succeeded show that that one of the things they have in common is male mentors, and the males who are prone to mentoring women are very much backing off from that now, especially if they have families and their lives can be ruined doing that. And when women whine and complain a great deal about so much, then and hashtag Me Too only means women, when any type of, therefore it's a monologue rather than a dialogue, then our boys look at, why should I try to work hard to become successful? Because if I become successful, I can be ruined in 5 minutes anyway. And then our sons, what I'm talking to, when I did the interviews and the research for the boy crisis, I'm talking to boys who are saying, I don't get it, because on the one hand, if I'm still told we're told that women have equality, but they don't take equal responsibility for asking guys out. Yes, women have the option to ask guys out, and if they're not an attractive woman, they'll ask out a really good-looking guy, and they'll use the option in that way. But as a rule, the attractive women in school wait around, and they just reject the guys, and guys are expected to do the initiating. And if I initiate too soon or too much or in the wrong way or with the wrong woman, or have just what they perceive as the wrong tone of voice, or I do it at the wrong time, or I don't wait for them to relax with enough drinks, or they have too many drinks and they get drunk, the capital lesson is that his future could be ruined in a minute. And yet, if your son doesn't initiate, or he initiates with too much caution, or he lets a long time go by before he initiates, his fear is that he'll be thought of as a wimp and be told, you are really a sweet guy and I really like you. Let's just be friends. By the way, could you introduce me to Rich from your geometry class? He's a really great quarterback, and I'd like to meet him. I think you could introduce me. And so he learns basically that he's caught between a rock and a hard place if he doesn't do it exactly in the right way. He's the one that's responsible. Yeah. And if we want to solve that problem, we need to ask females to share the risks of responsibility.
Well, but Dr. Farrell,
rejection.
Right, sorry. And let me just interrupt you here. The boy crisis, why boys are struggling and what we can do about it. Dr. Warren Farrell joining us. That's the name of his new book, but it's all so confusing. Now, when I grew up in the 80s, you had the big screen role models, Chuck Norris, Arnold Schwarzenegger, Sylvester Stallone, of American masculinity, of being a good guy. I don't know who the role models in Hollywood or popular culture are today. Mark Zuckerberg?
Yes. Well, to a much greater degree, fortunately, there are at least, when you and I grew up, if you were a geek, or at least when I grew up, if you were a geek, you were sort of like, you weren't considered the most attractive person to women. Nowadays, at least, the guys who are really smart in school and may not be that great with emotional skills, at least there's a sense of the possibility that they could be tomorrow's multimillionaires or multi-billionaires, and so there's a little bit of leeway there. But I think the situation of guys not knowing what to do and is turning a lot of guys to pornography, and pornography.
Now wait a minute, let me jump in there. What do you mean by that? So how are men? And I hear this all the time. In fact, I'm at church and we've got the priest warning about the pornography in men. What do you mean by that?
Well, when a guy does on a boy, or when a 14, 15-year-old boy is seeing that the guys that do get together with women, they're usually taking a lot of risks, but he's not sure he can do it right, and he's sort of absorbing this culture where if he does it too quickly, he could be in a real problem, and if he doesn't do it quickly enough, he'll be rejected. He starts thinking that real life girls are too complex for him. Remember, he's the less mature sex as a rule. He then turns to pornography, because pornography gives him access to a variety of attractive women without fear of rejection. Also at a price he can afford. But however, there's a lot of problems with pornography, which is it releases your son's dopamine, or the feel-good drug and the motivating drug, only by increasingly risky virtual sex with an increasingly airbrushed woman. So it gets him addicted to a lot of sexual risk to increase excitement, rather than sort of deaden his feelings. And then he finally does meet a real life woman, and the real life woman feels treated like an object and just like somebody who has to perform like they did in the pornographic movies, and she just then rejects him, and because she doesn't feel treated like a really complex human being, unless she is. And so then that makes your son even more depressed and disappointed, and therefore he turns back to pornography and increases the cycle.
Dr. Farrell, let's get to the big question. How do you raise boys today in this let's get them society, and not get them in a good way? We saw what happened to Brett Kavanaugh. We see what happens when people are falsely accused, and you have good, decent females that all of a sudden believe the narrative, and men don't get the benefit of the doubt. How do you raise young men, for parents, men and women listening right now, very concerned about the future of their little boys in America today, sir?
Yes, we had that larger problem, which needs to be a cultural shift, where we take this #2 monologue and turn it into a hashtag Me Too. I said, I'm sorry there. We take the hashtag Me Too monologue and we turn it into a hashtag Me Too dialogue, because we must realize that both men and women are in the same family boat. And whenever we have only one sex win, we are guaranteed to have both sexes lose. And nothing happens by just complaining from one side of the gender scale and having the other sex put their heads in the sand and hope the bullets would miss. In the old days, we always had a battle of the sexes, but it was a battle back and forth. Now, today, it is like there's a war in which only one side has shown up, and our sons put their heads in the sand and hope the bullets will miss. That's not teaching them how to communicate. So that's the larger picture there. On the more direct picture, what I discovered in the research for the boy crisis was that the boys that are having the problems are boys who have the minimal father involvement or no father involvement, especially in broken families. And I didn't start out with this assumption. I came from the background of the National Organization for Women. I believe that women had freedom to make their own choices, but I found that when women in the United States, 53% of women under 30 who have children outside of marriage. And in those families...
But Dr. Farrell, I'm sorry to interrupt, but you're on such a good roll. I want to pick up on this point. That's the norm these days. Look at LeBron James. He's dated this girl since high school, Savannah James, but they have 2 kids before they get married. The abnormal has become the normal, and in the old days, there would be something called shame that is replaced with, oh, it's good, it's acceptable.
Exactly right, and that's what the feminist movement encouraged, and it's where the feminist movement and I broke up, which is I said that what the primary filter should be. Yes, a woman should have freedom to have children, but the moment she makes that free decision to have children, her primary focus should be on the children, not the children's needs, not just her needs. And it is exactly correct. 53% of women under 30 in the United States who have children without being married. And in that 53%, about 90% of those children have minimal or no father involvement after the children themselves are about 3 to 4 years of age. And so the boy crisis resides where dads do not reside, especially in both those families and the families of divorce that don't have what I call the 4 must-dos if there's a divorce. By the 4 must-dos, I mean when a family divorces, your son especially, and also your daughter, but your son to a greater degree, is likely to have an extremely difficult time or a challenged future if he doesn't have an equal amount of time with mom and dad, if the dad and mom don't live within about 20 minutes drive distance from each other, so the children don't have to give up friends and activities to see the other parent. Number 3, he must have to hear minimal or no bad-mouthing from dad to mom or mom to dad. And number 4, there should be relationship counseling by that mother and father go to, not just for emergencies, but consistently, so both parents can work out strategies that serve their children the best. And by the way, there's also, it's very helpful if you boys do not have these things. Some of the solutions are Cub Scouts, Boy Scouts, a faith-based community, especially a faith-based community in which the pastor, minister, or rabbi get together and create men's and young boys groups of different ages and have boys talk with each other about, what is the mask that they present to the world, and then what are the real feelings behind that mask. And that is very helpful in preventing loneliness and isolation and the alienation that tends to be the stepping stone into boys' video game addiction and video porn.
Dr. Warren Farrell, we appreciate you. The Boy Crisis, Why Boys Are Struggling, and What We Can Do About It. Thank you, sir.
You're very welcome. Great to talk with you.
All right. I recommend that book highly, and we appreciate that. Obviously, we want to make sure we get fair and accurate and relevant information out to you. By the way, this just in, Ambassador Nikki Haley has just resigned as UN ambassador. The president set to speak about it. We'll see if we can carry those comments live. Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio.
Swift getting political, declaring her support for 2 Democrats in the upcoming midterm elections. Swift's announcement comes just one day after the end of the American leg of her world tour and a day after Judge Brett Kavanaugh's narrow confirmation to the Supreme Court following accusations of sexual misconduct. Swift hinting that the Kavanaugh confirmation and her own experiences led to her political posts now going viral.
Her reasoning was because everything's on the line in this upcoming election in terms of rights for people of color, for the LGBTQ community, marriage equality.
Everything's always on the line for the elections. That's why elections matter, President Obama. You remember that. Good morning, Kevin Miller in the morning. KIDO Talk Radio, talking about the issues involving men and why can't entertainers just entertain?
It was just made legal. It could be overturned like that. And in a moment where women's rights are literally on the line, our lives and our bodies are on the line.
Now, I didn't know that anybody was threatening women. That's news to me. And thank goodness that we have the singer who gave us Shake It Off, Haters Gonna Hate, Shake It Off, coming to our defense, endorsing 2 liberal Democrats, both in the state of Tennessee.
Taylor Swift is an important voice to articulate that point.
Taylor Swift, she is the latest celebrity to jump into the nation's heated political debate. Swift had avoided politics in the past, but ABC's Eva Pilgrim is here with more. And Eva, probably not a surprise to many, she's picking the Democrat in this race.
Swift saying she cannot support GOP Senate candidate Marsha Blackburn because her voting record in Congress appalls and terrifies me. The superstar writing,
appalls and terrifies me. By the way, if you know that name, Marsha Blackburn has been on our show for many, many years. I've known her since my days in Nashville. Just a very nice, conservative lady. And here you have a person who, how many conservatives have bought Taylor Swift's albums and CDs and streaming? And she's scared of conservatives.
I cannot vote for someone who will not be willing to fight for dignity for all Americans, no matter their skin color, gender, or who they love. These are not my Tennessee values.
Taylor Swift is breaking her political silence for the very first time, endorsing 2 Democratic candidates in her home state of Tennessee.
Swift urged her more than 112 million followers.
There we have it. Of course, people tune in to Taylor Swift to hear the hits, not her political commentary. The president had this to say.
Marsha Blackburn is doing a very good job in Tennessee. She's leading now substantially, which she should. She's a tremendous woman. I'm sure Taylor Swift has nothing or doesn't know anything about her. And let's say that I like Taylor's music about 25% less now, okay?
Thank you, President Trump. KIDO Talk Radio time is 8:28. Traffic and weather together.
Eric Everett.
And coming up, we'll hear from Tess, Steve, and Earl with Kevin Miller on KIDO Talk Radio. But first, let's find out what's happening in your world. Good morning, Doug.
Good morning, Kevin.
Rolling right along. Blessed to be with you. Thank you all for joining us. We understand you have a lot of choices in the morning, and we appreciate you staying here with us, KIDO Talk Radio. If you love our show, don't forget Sean Hannity this afternoon, beginning at 3, and before that, Dave Ramsey. All the talk you need about the issues that matter to you, whether it's here in the Treasure Valley or across the country. And if you're new to the area, welcome. Glad to have you with us. We appreciate you. And some people say, well, I'm from California, and they don't like me. Well, no, it's not that. We love people that, want to embrace freedom. They want to live a good life with their family. We just ask that you change your plates when you get here. Then we can't tell, right? Anyway, let's continue on with your phone calls. By the way, if you're new to the program, 580-5436. Very easy to remember. 580-KIDO. KIDO Talk Radio time is 8:35. And Nikki Haley stepping down was not expected. Let's go to the phones. Tess, good morning. You're on KIDO Talk Radio with Kevin Miller. Hello, Tess.
Hi, good morning. Nice to be back in Boise.
Wow.
Hey, so I just need to just tell a quick story here. It's been tough the last 3 or 4 weeks here watching all this, but I think it's time for women. You really got to step out, and sometimes you have to step out by grabbing your man's hand and walking him forward. And I'll tell you, that has to do with health issues too. And men are just under attack physically. And my short story is, my husband started having problems. Losing muscle, being real tired, having some other issues, vision and such, and just a real bizarre physical change. And one day he took off his shirt and I said, man, you have breasts. And so I grabbed him and I said, we're going to the doctor. And what we discovered is that he has a golf ball-sized pituitary tumor. Now, if people don't know what that is, well, that's something that affects a lot of your hormones. But then what we discovered along that trip is that the estrogen level that we were getting also came from some hand cream that we had been purchasing, tea tree oil, which is an estrogen mimicker.
Here I thought there was gonna be a fatty joke in there.
Well, no, no. So all I'm saying is that
Wait a minute. So you're rubbing some sauce on him, and it turns him into a woman?
Well,
don't rub the sauce on him.
Well, here's the deal. The doctor looked at me and he said, guess what? Tess, he said, your testosterone levels are about 100 times more than your husband's. His came back at a 3. Now, we're talking on a scale of 0 to about 1,000 for testosterone levels. The average is around 700. So a 3. So think about that.
So you were
physically feminized.
You were the man and he was the woman.
Well, I hadn't thought about it that way.
Talk about role reversals.
Maybe sometimes we have to.
You were ahead of your time. Well, I just think that, you go back to, I don't think that really men or women, but particularly men, because I happen to be a man, at least that's what I claim to be, they shouldn't apologize for anything. And you look at the way our society has gone traditionally and the fact that we're undoing it, it's to our detriment.
Well, if you keep giving all these kids trophies for coming in last place, that's what kind of happens, don't you think?
Well, I think the vilification, though, of men, that they're afraid to do anything anymore. And then you have states like Idaho saying, doesn't matter if you're a man or a woman, you can be an X gender. Why? Because we don't want to fight the politically correct establishment. We don't want to fight anything else. We just want to, what type of gender is X? You're not a man, you're not a woman, you're an X?
Well, doesn't Monty Python call that a newt?
Calls it something.
I know.
Tess, anything else you'd like to share with us here on KIDO Talk Radio now that you're back into the People's Republic of Boise?
Well, I won't be for long. I'm headed home, but pray for these folks up in Idaho County that are missing.
Yeah?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it's going to be a nasty, wet, cold winter, so better go buy your snow tires.
What do you mean nasty, cold, wet winter?
Hey, all the signs are there.
Well, Guess I better get my heater fixed. I'm not kidding.
There you go.
Thanks, Tess.
All right, later.
Very informal this morning on KIDO Talk Radio. Joining us now, the purveyor of punditry in the Treasure Valley, the publisher of the Gem State Patriot. We lovingly like to call him in a heterosexually appropriate way, the sweet prince of the Treasure Valley, Tea Party Bob. Good morning.
I don't know. These introductions are getting way too elaborate for me. Can't you just introduce me as Tea Party Bob?
Now you're sounding like Jeff the Suit, but go ahead, please.
No, don't put me in a category now.
Sure.
You know, when I was watching President Trump swearing Kavanaugh last night and apologized to him on behalf of the American people, it kind of struck me how far we've come since the days of the Obama presidency when he was traveling around the world apologizing for America every place he went. You know, we had 8 years of a chameleon as a president who neglected the American people and their needs so he could pontificate to the world how he was going to change this country, and he came very close to doing it. I think we should all keep in mind that if it were not for President Trump running and winning in 2016 election, we would all be sinking in the quicksand of the progressive movement to destroy this country. Now, all I can say is that it is time for the American people to open their eyes once more and see the danger the progressive Democrats pose to this great nation if they should take control of Congress in the November election. And in regards to the nutty antics that are going around this country with all this screaming and hollering and banging on doors, I think we should remember that much of this ranting and raving by the left has been bought and paid for by the likes of George Soros, who has pumped hundreds of millions of dollars to these radical groups in hopes of keeping the progressives in control of our government.
Well, speaking of radical groups, though, you've got Taylor Swift now becoming a lib.
I haven't gotten to her yet.
And apparently, well, I didn't want to interrupt your talking points here, but for the sake of entertainment here, voter registration among young Americans shot up in the wake of pop megastar Taylor Swift's Instagram post urging 112 million Instagram followers to get out the vote.
Well, look, I'm going to go back. I want to finish my comment on
Are
Soros.
you familiar with Taylor Swift?
You know she was my favorite singer. Come on.
Do you know her song "Shake It, Baby, Shake It Off" or whatever? Have you sung that song?
I'd like to shake her right now.
Well, that's not an answer to the question.
I don't have any interest in even listening to. You know, she needs to stick to entertaining instead of endorsing progressive candidates she really doesn't know anything about. You know,
Maybe she does.
I'm not sure what kind of Kool-Aid she's been drinking, but it should be taken off the market immediately. You know, between her and George Soros, maybe to get together and do a duet. We call it the Crazy Duo.
Well, you could, or you could. There was a movie, I can't remember what it was called, but it was Huey Lewis and Gwyneth Paltrow in it. And it was about karaoke, and Paul Giamatti was in it. And anyway, never mind. I was thinking of George Soros and Taylor Swift, but I do have another question for you. I know you want to finish your talking points, but.
No, go ahead. I'm with you now. Go ahead.
All right. So, Tommy Ahlquist, Dr. Tommy, Touchdown Tommy, making another big announcement with his friends at Channel 7. Back into the fold over there. He and Kristen Armstrong are going to open up a fitness center. Not to be confused with the new hospital that he's going to open up. Not to be confused with the downtown building. What is Touchdown Tommy up to?
I don't know. I don't think we need another physical education center, which is probably what that's going to be.
No, it's like a gym, rehab, you name it.
Yes, I know. We have so many gyms in the Treasure Valley right now. I don't know why we need another one. Ours is empty half the time. And another hospital. Yes, we certainly do need another hospital because the people around here are getting sick and tired of the crony politicians that are spending our money like water on crazy projects. I don't care what Tommy Ahlquist does anymore. It really doesn't matter to me.
I think he, you and I disagree on Dr. Ahlquist, but I think he's gonna come back. This is, he's keeping his profile going. Maybe he would become the mayor of Boise.
Or maybe he'll move to Utah and become the mayor of Salt Lake City. That's what I'm praying for.
Would you move to
He'll
Salt Lake City?
No, but maybe he'll stop building and start thinking about the infrastructure we need.
I don't know.
Instead of trying to put up new projects. He's one of the problems. He's not the solution.
Well, maybe.
I said this before.
Well, people disagree with you on Dr. Ahlquist.
I don't really care whether they disagree. Look at what is going on. Wait till they see their taxes go through the roof because we have infrastructure. Wait till Meridian has to put in a whole new sewer and water treatment plant.
Well, you're just
and it
full
cost them $500 million.
You're full of good news. By the way, we hope to get Dr. Ahlquist on. That would be good. A fascinating conversation where I could lob him softball questions and you could call in and yell at him. That's what we call entertainment here.
I don't intend to yell at him, but I just don't need another interview with Mr. Ahlquist. I already had mine.
Well, I'd like to have one. I'd love to find out his post-primary plans.
He's a nice fellow, but he doesn't really care about what the infrastructure costs.
Those are harsh charges you're making.
He said to me he pays enough in his fees for infrastructure.
Well, what smart businessman would want to pay more fees?
Well, he's smart enough to get Meridian to put taxpayer money into this project down here that's going to screw up the whole road.
I
have to make an appointment to get out of my development in the morning now. 2 days in advance.
I don't live in Meridian anymore, so. Tea
Party
Bob.
I know you don't. Thank you.
Thank you for the traffic update on Meridian. Thank you, sir.
Have a wonderful day, my friend.
All right. Bye-bye. Tea Party Bob in rare form. Check him out at gemstatepatriot.com. 580-5436. 580-KIDO. Kevin Miller with you before Glenn Beck. When you listen to Judge Kavanaugh, to me, it just resonates. His voice resonates with credibility. But I do want to talk a little bit about the Idaho political scene and what we can expect and what we can't expect next. Would love to hear from you. 580-5436, 580-KIDO. Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio.
Marsha Blackburn is doing a very good job in Tennessee. She's leading now substantially, which she should. She's a tremendous woman. I'm sure Taylor Swift has nothing or doesn't know anything about her. And let's say that I like Taylor's music about 25% less now, okay?
Good morning, Kevin Miller in the morning. Another entertainer has joined the leftist bandwagon. This would be Taylor Swift getting ready to endorse Phil Bredesen. He's running for Senate in Tennessee. What does this all mean to us here in Idaho? Well, simply entertainers deciding, I guess, to go back to what they did in the 60s, which is to become more militant, more political. Now, to me, I want to escape that. I don't really, I agree with Laura Ingraham. Shut up and dribble. Shut up and sing. These people make an incredible amount of money off of impressionable young people and some not so impressionable young people. I mean, look, that was a great song. And Ray Maya is looking at me going, are you going to jump in and talk? I mean, it was brilliant. People love that. You have kids singing this all the time. Don't entertainers have a responsibility to just be, I guess, nonpartisan? And maybe when you have millions of followers, you have everything else, it really doesn't matter. Except the same people that she's supporting are the same people that malign people and go out of their way to do whatever they can to destroy people. By the way, last night, Judge Kavanaugh sworn in.
And with that, I must state that you, sir, under historic scrutiny, were proven innocent. Thank you.
The President of the United States didn't have to say that, but he did. And whether people want to admit it or not, there was no credible evidence against Judge Kavanaugh, now Justice Kavanaugh. And when you hear about his record, it's just amazing. Now, earlier we were talking about Taylor Swift saying that Republicans are this and that. There are just so many untrue allegations. And you know this, as we've said before, and I wish that I were wrong. We've gone in the closet. Everybody else is out running wild and free. Conservatives, people of faith, we've been marginalized. They've taken away our own country from us.
What happened to the Kavanaugh family violates every notion of fairness, decency, and due process. Our country, a man or a woman, must always be presumed innocent unless and until proven guilty.
(580-5436) 580-KIDO. KIDO Talk Radio time, 8:54. Kevin Miller in the morning. Let's get you to work safely and on time.
I'm just Channel 7's Eric Everett.
I would like to begin tonight's proceeding differently than perhaps any other event of such magnitude. On behalf of our nation, I want to apologize to Brett and the entire Kavanaugh family for the terrible pain and suffering you have been forced to endure. Those who step forward to serve our country deserve a fair and dignified evaluation, not a campaign of political and personal destruction based on lies and deception.
The president going further than he had to for Judge Kavanaugh. We certainly appreciate that. Judge Kavanaugh laying the smackdown, if you will, and talking about his philosophy here on KIDO Talk Radio.
In the wake of the Senate confirmation process, my approach to life also remains the same. I will continue to heed the message of Matthew 25. I will continue to volunteer to serve the least fortunate among us. I will continue to coach, teach, and tutor. I will continue to strive to be a good friend, colleague, husband, and dad.
There we have it. Now, again, what neighborhood would you like to live in? Judge Kavanaugh's or Dianne Feinstein's? Pro-Life, good morning. You're on with Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning.
Yeah, I want to just say one short thing. Mr. Kavanaugh, Justice Kavanaugh, needs to sue Halsey Ford for defamation of character and libel. And that's just the bottom line. If he doesn't do that, then they'll come back again, and she needs to really be examined why she did this and dig into all of her stuff, because she's.
Well, what do you make of that? People think that she's credible.
No, she's not credible. That was a big lie, the whole thing. And when the senator from Maine says that something happened to her, I don't even believe that. I don't believe anything she says.
Then why would she bring that up?
Well, because she wants. You mean the senator from Maine?
No, Blasey Ford. Why would she do this?
Well, why would she bring it up? Because she wants to keep Kavanaugh off the court. That's the only reason. It's just her whole organization is to keep people off the court.
You really think so?
Yeah, that's her. That's her total motive. And you know, people need to catch on to that. You can't say something happened to her. Nobody else has ever said any. She never brought it up to anybody, except, to her therapist one time, and nobody could ever figure out anything about that.
How can we restore the presumption of innocence?
You have to sue the people that are making false accusations. That's all you can do. They can't get away with it, or they'll keep doing it. So, and it's
harsh words from Pro-Life today. Do you believe that Tommy Alquist is back in the political game?
Oh, I think he'd like to be, and he likes money and fame and notoriety. So hey, I think he's back there. He'll always be there.
What's he going to run for?
I don't know. Maybe for president.
That's what Liberty Linda says.
Yeah, I know, but he won't be able to become the president. But anyway, I don't know. We have too many people trying to be something that they're not qualified to be.
Wow, Pro-Life. God bless. I got to run. Thank you.
All right, we'll see you.
Man, just a bunch of Debbie Downers today. Maybe it's the rain. Hey, Glenn Beck will cheer you up next, followed by Dave Ramsey, Sean Hannity, Lars Larson, and yours truly. Kevin Miller wishing you a good day. God bless. Ray Amaya, great job. Keep the faith, everyone.